بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. التسجيل 24 من كتاب 1300 قانون في الرياضيات. If z equal if x uv y uv if z equal if x uv y uv if z equal if x uv y uv then partial derivative z on partial derivative y on partial derivative z on partial derivative u on partial derivative z on partial derivative u on partial derivative f on partial derivative x partial derivative f on partial derivative x partial derivative f on partial derivative x partial derivative x on partial derivative u partial derivative x on partial derivative u partial derivative x on partial derivative u plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y partial derivative y on partial derivative u partial derivative y on partial derivative u partial derivative y on partial derivative u partial derivative z on partial derivative v partial derivative z on partial derivative v partial derivative z on partial derivative v equal partial derivative f on partial derivative x equal partial derivative f on partial derivative x equal partial derivative f on partial derivative x partial derivative x on partial derivative v partial derivative x on partial derivative v partial derivative x on partial derivative v plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y partial derivative y on partial derivative v partial derivative y on partial derivative v partial derivative y on partial derivative v 849 small changes delta z equal nearly delta z equal nearly partial derivative f on partial derivative x partial derivative f on partial derivative x partial derivative f on partial derivative x delta x plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y delta y plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y delta y plus partial derivative f on partial derivative y delta y 850 local maxima and minima local maxima and minima if xy has a local maximum if xy has a local maximum if xy has a local maximum at x0 y0 at x0 y0 at x0 y0 if fxy less than equal if x0 y0 less than equal if x0 y0 less than equal if x0 y0 for all xy sufficiently close to x0 y0 sufficiently close to x0 y0 sufficiently close to x0 y0 if xy has a local minimum at if xy has a local minimum at if xy has a local minimum at x0 y0 x0 y0 x0 y0 if fxy bigger than equal if x0 y0 bigger than equal if x0 y0 bigger than equal if x0 y0 for all xy sufficiently close to x0 y0 for all xy sufficiently close to x0 y0 for all xy sufficiently close to x0 y0. 581 stationary points virtual derivative f on virtual derivative x, virtual derivative f on virtual derivative x, virtual derivative f on virtual derivative x equal virtual derivative f on virtual derivative y equal virtual derivative f on virtual derivative y equal virtual derivative f on virtual derivative y equal 0 equal 0 equal 0. Local maxima and local minima, local maxima and local minima, local maxima and local minima occur at stationary points, occur at stationary points, occur at stationary points. 852 saddle point a stationary point which is neither a stationary point which is neither a stationary point which is neither a local maximum nor a local minimum nor a local minimum nor a local minimum. 853 second derivative test for stationary points, second derivative test for stationary points, second derivative test for stationary points. Let x0 y0 be a stationary point, virtual derivative f on virtual derivative x, virtual derivative f on virtual derivative x, virtual derivative f on virtual derivative x equal virtual derivative f on virtual derivative y equal virtual derivative f on virtual derivative y on virtual derivative f on virtual derivative y equal 0 equal 0 equal 0. D equal determinant fxx x0 y0 fxx x0 y0 fxx x0 y0 fxy x0 y0 fxy x0 y0 fxy x0 y0 fyx x0 y0 fyx x0 y0 fyx x0 y0 fyy x0 y0 fyy x0 y0 fyy x0 y0. If d bigger than 0, if d bigger than 0, if d bigger than 0, fxx x0 y0 bigger than 0, fxx x0 y0 bigger than 0, fxx x0 y0 bigger than 0, x0 y0 is a point of local minima, is a point of x0 y0 is a point of local minima, x0 y0 is a point of local minima, x0 y0 is a point of local minima. If d bigger than 0, if d bigger than 0, if d bigger than 0, fxx x0 y0 less than 0, fxx x0 y0 less than 0, fxx x0 y0 less than 0, x0 y0 is a point of local maxima, is a point x0 y0 is a point of local maxima, is a point of local x0 y0 is a point of local maxima. If d less than 0, if d less than 0, if d less than 0, x0 y0 is a saddle point, x0 y0 is a saddle point, x0 y0 is a saddle point. If d equals 0, if d equals 0, if d equals 0, the test files 854 tangent plane. The equation of the tangent plane, the equation of the tangent plane, the equation of the tangent plane to the surface, z equal fxy, z equal fxy, z equal fxy. At x0 y0 z0 is at x0 y0 z0 is at x0 y0 z0 is z minus z0 equal z minus z0 equal z minus z0 equal fx x0 y0 by fx x0 y0 by fx x0 y0 by x minus x0 x minus x0 x minus x0 plus fy x0 y0 by plus fy x0 y0 by plus fy x0 y0 by y minus y0 y minus y0 y minus y0. 855 normal of a surface, normal of a surface, normal of a surface. The equation of the normal, the equation of the normal, the equation of the normal to the surface z equal, to the surface z equal, to the surface z equal fxy at fxy at fxy at x0 y0 z0 is x0 y0 z0 is x0 y0 z0 is x minus x0 on x minus x0 on x minus x0 on fx x0 y0 fx x0 y0 fx x0 y0 equal y minus y0 on equal y minus y0 on equal y minus y0 on fy x0 y0 fy x0 y0 fy x0 y0 equal z minus z0 on minus 1 equal z minus z0 on minus 1 equal z minus z0 on minus 1. Differential operators, differential operators, differential operators. Unit vectors along the coordinate axis. Unit vectors along the coordinate axis. Unit vectors along the coordinate axis. I vector, G vector, K vector, I vector, J vector, K vector, I vector, J vector, K vector. Scalar functions, scalar functions, scalar functions, scalar files, scalar files, scalar files, fxyz, 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 u x1 y x1 y x2 x1 x2 xn, u x1 x2 xn, ux1 x2 xn, a gradient of a scalar field, a gradient of a scalar field gradu, gradient of a scalar field gradu, nabla u nabla u nabla u, directional derivative, directional derivative, directional derivative, partial derivative f on partial derivative l, partial derivative f on partial derivative l, partial derivative f on partial derivative l. Vector function, vector field, vector function, vector field, vector function, vector field. F vector PQR, F vector PQR, F vector PQR. Divergence of a vector field, divergence of a vector field, divergence of a vector field. Div F vector, nabla F vector, div F vector, vector, nabla F vector, div F vector, nabla F vector. Curl of a vector field, curl of a vector field, curl of a vector field, curl F vector, nabla by F vector, curl F vector, nabla by F vector, curl F vector, nabla by F vector. Laplacian operator, Laplacian operator, Laplacian operator. Nabla square, Nabla square, Nabla square. 856 gradient of a scalar function, gradient of a scalar function, gradient of a scalar function. Grad f equal nabla f, grad f equal nabla f, grad f equal nabla f, equal partial derivative f on partial derivative x, equal partial derivative f on partial derivative x, equal partial derivative f on partial derivative x, partial derivative f on partial derivative y, partial derivative f on partial derivative y, partial derivative f on partial derivative y, partial derivative f on partial derivative z, partial derivative f on partial derivative z, partial derivative f on partial derivative z. grad u equal nabla u, grad u equal nabla u, grad u equal nabla u, equal partial derivative u on partial derivative x1, equal partial derivative u on partial derivative x1, equal partial derivative u on partial derivative x1, partial derivative u on partial derivative x2, partial derivative u on partial derivative x2, partial derivative u on partial derivative x2, partial derivative u on partial derivative xn, partial derivative u on partial derivative xn, partial derivative u on partial derivative xn. 857 directional derivative, directional derivative, directional derivative. Partial derivative f on partial derivative l equal, partial derivative f on partial derivative l equal, partial derivative f on partial derivative l equal, partial derivative f on partial derivative x cosine alpha plus, partial derivative f on partial derivative x cosine alpha plus, partial derivative f on partial derivative x cosine alpha plus, partial derivative f on partial derivative y cosine beta, partial derivative f on partial derivative y cosine beta, read plus plus plus, partial derivative f on partial derivative y cosine beta, partial derivative f on partial derivative y cosine beta, plus partial derivative f on partial derivative z cosine gamma, plus partial derivative f on partial derivative z cosine gamma, plus partial derivative f on partial derivative z cosine gamma. Where the direction is defined by the vector, where the direction is defined by the vector, where the direction is defined by the vector. L vector cosine alpha cosine beta cosine gamma, L vector cosine alpha cosine beta cosine gamma, L vector cosine alpha cosine beta cosine gamma, cosine square alpha plus cosine square beta plus cosine square gamma equal 1, cosine square alpha plus cosine square beta plus cosine square gamma equal 1, cosine square alpha plus cosine square beta plus cosine square gamma equal 1. 585 divergence of a vector field, divergence of a vector field, divergence of a vector field. div f vector equal nabla f vector, div f vector equal nabla f vector, div f vector equal nabla f vector, equal partial derivative p on partial derivative x, equal partial derivative p on partial derivative x on equal partial derivative p on partial derivative x, plus partial derivative q on partial derivative y, plus partial derivative q on partial derivative y, plus partial derivative q on partial derivative y, plus partial derivative r on partial derivative z, plus partial derivative r on partial derivative z, plus partial derivative r on partial derivative z. 859 curl of a vector field, curl of a vector field, curl of a vector field. curl f vector equal nabla by f vector, curl f vector equal nabla by f vector, curl f vector equal nabla by f vector, equal determinant, equal determinant, equal determinant. I vector g vector k vector, I vector g vector k vector, I vector g vector k vector. Partial derivative on partial derivative x, partial derivative on partial derivative x, partial derivative on partial derivative x, partial derivative on partial derivative y, partial derivative on partial derivative y, partial derivative on partial derivative y, partial derivative on partial derivative z, partial derivative on partial derivative z, partial derivative on partial derivative z, BQR 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 equal partial derivative R on partial derivative y equal partial derivative R on partial derivative y equal partial derivative R on partial derivative y minus partial derivative Q on partial derivative z I vector minus partial derivative Q on partial derivative z I vector minus partial derivative Q on partial derivative z I vector minus partial derivative Q on partial derivative z I vector plus partial derivative P on partial derivative z plus partial derivative P on partial derivative z plus partial derivative P on partial derivative z minus partial derivative R on partial derivative x minus partial derivative R on partial derivative x minus partial derivative R on partial derivative x G vector G vector G vector plus partial derivative Q on partial derivative x plus partial derivative Q on partial derivative x plus partial derivative Q on partial derivative x minus partial derivative P on partial derivative y minus partial derivative B on partial derivative y minus partial derivative B on partial derivative y K vector K vector K vector Laplacian operator Laplacian operator Laplacian operator 860 نابلة سكوير F equal نابلة سكوير F equal نابلة سكوير F equal partial derivative square F on partial derivative x square partial derivative square F on partial derivative x square partial derivative square F on partial derivative x square plus partial derivative square F on partial derivative y square plus partial partial derivative square F on partial derivative y square plus partial derivative square F on partial derivative y square plus partial derivative square F on plus partial derivative square on plus partial derivative square F on plus partial derivative square F on plus partial derivative square F on partial derivative z square partial derivative z square partial derivative z square 661 ديف كورل اف فيكتور ايكوال ديف كورل اف فيكتور ايكوال ديف كورل اف فيكتور ايكوال نابلا باي اف فيكتور ايكوال 0 نابلا باي اف فيكتور ايكوال 0 نابلا باي اف فيكتور ايكوال 0 862 كورل جراد اف ايكوال كورل جراد اف ايكوال كورل جراد اف ايكوال باي نابلا اف ايكوال 0 نابلا اف ايكوال 0 نابلا اف ايكوال 0 863 ديف جراد اف ايكوال ديف جراد اف ايكوال ديف جراد اف ايكوال نابلا اف نابلا اف equal نابلا سكوير اف equal نابلا سكوير اف equal نابلا سكوير اف 864 كورل اف فيكتور ايكوال كورل اف فيكتور ايكوال كورل اف فيكتور ايكوال جراد ديف اف فيكتور جراد ديف اف فيكتور جراد ديف اف فيكتور ماينس نابلا سكوير اف فيكتور ماينس نابلا سكوير اف فيكتور minus nabla square f vector equal nabla f vector equal nabla f vector equal nabla f vector minus nabla square f vector minus nabla square f vector minus nabla square f vector. Chapter 9 Integral calculus integral calculus functions f g u v functions f g u v functions f g u v independent variable variables independent variables independent variables xt zeta xt zeta xt zeta zeta definite integral of a function definite integral of a function definite integral of a function integral fx dx integral gx dx integral fx dx integral gx dx integral fx dx integral gx dx derivative of a function derivative of a function derivative of a function derivative yx derivative yx derivative yx derivative fx derivative fx derivative fx derivative fx derivative fx derivative fx etc 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 real constantes real constantes real constantes CRB CDK CRB CDK CRB CDK natural numbers natural numbers natural numbers MNIJ 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 indefinite integral indefinite integral indefinite integral 865 integral fx dx equal integral fx dx equal integral fx dx equal fx plus c fx plus c fx plus c if derivative fx equal fx if derivative fx equal fx if derivative fx equal fx 866 integral fx derivative integral fx dx equal fx derivative integral fx dx equal fx derivative integral fx dx equal fx right derivative integral fx dx equal fx 867 integer k fx dx equal integer k fx dx equal integer k fx dx equal k integer fx dx k integer fx dx k integer fx dx 868 integer fx plus gx dx equal integer fx plus gx dx equal integer fx plus gx dx equal integer fx dx plus integer fx dx plus integer fx dx plus integer gx dx integer gx dx integer gx dx 869 integer fx minus gx dx equal integer fx minus gx dx equal integer fx minus gx dx equal integer fx dx minus integer fx dx minus integer fx dx minus integer gx dx integer gx dx integer gx dx 870 integer f ax dx equal integer f ax dx equal integer f ax dx equal 1 on a f ax plus c 1 on a f ax plus c 1 on a f ax plus c 871 integer f ax plus b dx equal integer f ax plus b dx equal integer f ax plus b dx equal 1 on a f ax plus b plus c 1 on a f ax plus b plus c 1 on a f ax plus b plus c 872 integer fx derivative fx dx equal integral fx derivative fx dx equal integer fx derivative fx dx equal 1 on 2 f power 2x plus c equal 1 on 2 f power 2x plus c equal 1 on 2 f power 2x plus c 873 integer derivative fx on fx dx derivative with integer derivative fx on fx dx equal integer derivative fx on fx dx equal on fx dx equal ln absolute fx plus c ln absolute fx plus c ln absolute fx plus c. وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.